what solutions would you advise?
I'm probably going to speak more to the leaders in the organizations than anybody else, you know, because there have been great strides, I think, being made. You know, the fact that we're having this conversation today, I think, is good evidence of that, because we weren't having this conversation 20 years ago. So leaders, that's fantastic that that's happened, and HR folk in particular, probably, you know, it's great that we own that. However, you know, in my promotion of today's event on LinkedIn, I made reference to a piece that had just come out from Human Resource Director magazine, which reveals that 62% of Australians hide their identity to some degree at work, right? And so what I would encourage leaders to try and do more of is, in fact, to promote that we all bring our full selves to work and be our full selves, right? Just after I had come out, I landed a role in a very large family-owned corporate. It's probably the largest family-owned business in Australia. And for 3 or 4 months, I felt very uncomfortable with the fact that I'm going to put my hand here. I had a picture of my partner and I at my desk, and I would feel very uncomfortable whenever members of the family walked by, right? Now, 4 months later, I ended up having a conversation with one of them, and in particular because I took an initiative to him, which was around supporting the, you know, the queer community within the organization. You know, we employed 12,000 people at the time. And I said to him, look, I don't know whether you know or not, but I'm in a relationship with another guy. And he said, oh, yeah, I know that. And I said, okay, so clearly, you know, by that response, you're not fazed. And he said, no, why would I be fazed? And that's all great. That's fantastic that he wasn't fazed, right? However, I didn't know that for many, many months. And so I hid a part of myself, or I got nervous about who I was and how that might be perceived. So you know, my response is to the leaders in organizations, please be a little bit more outspoken, and please be a little bit more overt in welcoming and encouraging everybody to bring their full selves to work. And in doing that, you'll send a signal not only to me, but you'll send a signal to all the other people at the same time, right? That not only are you welcome, but I'm welcome. Yeah. And I think if we can do that, and it's a small, yet I believe significant thing. And I think that would make a difference. Yes, there are fantastic, great big initiatives being driven. At the same time, we've got to come down to the minutiae and remember the individual human beings and treat them not only with dignity and respect, but encourage them to be who the hell they are.
Absolutely. And I did a video with Pauline a few months ago, and you said a very similar thing about being allowed to be yourself. And Pauline said that you had to pretend to be somebody else for quite a lot of your tech career to fit in.
And the reality is you still have to do a degree of that. I think, you know, of course you can be your true self, but when you're building your career, you still are going to face it every day. So I always talk to a lot of students who are from diverse backgrounds, and my key tip for them is to assimilate till they understand the environment so that you can communicate and reach the audience where they're at, and then bring them on the journey to convert them. But because unfortunately you won't know where the door is, let alone will you be invited through the door, and definitely you won't be getting a seat at the table.
Yeah.
So but I also agree with what you said, James. So it's a bit of both, and you've got to be able to read the scene and know how to approach things. And what that means is just making conscious decisions on how you do things, not just being flippant about it.
Absolutely. And Simon, what are your thoughts? What solutions can you think of?
A number of things. So I think obviously trying to tackle the gender imbalance from an earlier age, I think is something that we need to also focus on. It shouldn't require trendsetters like Pauline to have to break those glass ceilings, because those glass ceilings shouldn't be there in the first place. And also some of the language around, you know, those trendsetters will probably also have been pretty negative, you know, in terms of whether, you know, because strong women aren't seen as strong women, they're seen as, you know, bullish, or, you know, that kind of thing. And so if we can change attitudes at A, from an early age, B, bring in STEM partnerships with some of the large tech companies like your Canvas, etc. Have those partnerships with schools at an earlier stage to introduce technology as an exciting thing rather than a boys thing from an earlier age. I think that's one other thing. I think as a hiring manager myself, what I've done is I've actually changed the approach I have with recruiters themselves. So I'm actually now working with recruiters that have direct links into the organizations like Girls Who Code, etc., so that we get exposure to us as a company that says, look, we are looking for people like you. Have women in on the interviews so that it's not just a panel of men. Take degree requirements off your job ads, and also make it so that sell you as a company and what you're providing to them, rather than just be a dry list of requirements. I'm conscious of time, so I'll end that there.
Thank you, Simon. That's great. And yeah, I agree. Eradicating the stereotypes and how we talk to our daughters. You're not bossy. You're a leader. And the other thing as well, I think this is how you and I met, Pauline, actually, is through Girl Shaped Flames and Schedulo. So Girl Shaped Flames is very much about empowering teenage girls, and Schedulo is a Brisbane tech success story. And they partnered with Girl Shaped Flames, and my daughter went to one of those events. And I think I popped next door to River City Labs whilst my daughter was at an event at Schedulo, and that's where I met you. So it's all gone full circle, so to speak, but they're great. So it exposes the girls to different aspects